after him because he's one of the first to record it. But now you can see Taiwan's getting very good, accurate description. It's very much a part of a desired economy because after the first Opium War Treaty, 1840s, now, you know, Hong Kong, then everything used to have to go through Macau. After 1840, now the other ports in China are open for trade. And then after the Treaty of Tianjin, they open up 4 ports on Taiwan for trade. So very much a part of desired economies in the world. Okay, I'm going to coming to the end here. This is a Davidson map, 1903. The Davidson is the first American consul to Taiwan when Japan owns it. This 8 years after 1895. But the reason I bring in this one is that, again, you know, you see this line running up here, you know. Davidson accurately shows that the west or the eastern part of Taiwan was indigenous territory, Indian territory, nothing to do with the Qing dynasty. The Qing had realized in around 1870, 1880 that they better take over the rest of the island because a lot of other nations coveted it. But they were too late. Japan then beat them in the 1895 war. But this one is, as I say, important because it, again, echoes that same idea. How many have seen the movie Sadiq Ballet? Anyone seen that? One? Anyone else? Okay, you really got to get to see that movie because it takes place at this period of 1895 onto the Wushu incident in 1930, and it has this flag in it even. In the opening scene, but it gives you a feeling for the indigenous people on this side of the line. Because the movie opens where 2 Sadiq tribes are fighting each other over hunting grounds. Yeah. And they're competing, and in their culture, you have to control the hunting ground. And to control it, you can cut the head off your enemy if you want. So these are 2 Sadiq tribes competing. They're both hunting and fighting with each other. And then you have a flashback, or you see the Treaty of Shimonoseki being signed, where the Qing is giving Japan the island of Taiwan, which really they could only give them the western half, if they gave them the whole island. And then all of a sudden, for these Sadiq people, all these Japanese come, and they're figuring, you know, why the hell are all these Japanese here? What are they doing here? You know, and the Japanese are now saying these are our hunting grounds, no longer yours. And they say, what? You know, who said this? Who made it? So they're overwhelmed by power. And in that, then the movie will go on and cover how they finally decide rather to give up their cultural heritage, they will fight to the death and fight the Japanese. And of course it is a fight to the death for them. Most of them will die. They're just, you know, overwhelmed. But for the Japanese it's kind of a shock because they felt they were treating them pretty good, you know, and they're wondering why aren't they good Japanese citizens of the empire? Why are they rebelling? Well, this here is just a Davidson map, as I say, 1903. If you read his book on Formosa, it's kind of very pro-Japan. If you kind of read between the lines, but he's a consul there. He's not going to write anything against him. Okay. Now, okay, back to the other way. Okay, this is a satellite map of Taiwan. perfect shape and everything. And you can say, now that we got satellites and GPS, who needs map makers, right? Not so. Watch. Aha. Map here of the, this is another map which shows east at the top, continent here. You see Japan coming along here. You see Taiwan here. You see these islands here, going into the Philippines and that. Remember I said maps tell you something visually. If you don't see it north-south and you see it east-west, you realize that there are two tectonic plates that meet, two island things, that meet right here. That's why Taiwan has so many earthquakes. They're always shifting. So you see this island chain coming across here, and this other island chain coming down here, and they meet in Taiwan. Two ocean trenches meet there. And then you realize Taiwan is not part of the continent, but it is part of this here. This was part of this particular map is, actually I do a mock drawing of that, but this was used in a Taiwanese textbook. They can give you a different visual image. Okay. Okay, why are maps still valuable? What happens if seawater rises 25 meters and the polar caps are melting? How much of Taiwan goes underwater? Anyone live in Tainan? Your home is gone. Up by Damshui, Taipei, the basin, 25 meters, you better think of a new home. Move to the mountains. So maps still tell you something. A satellite image can't tell you this. GPS isn't going to tell you this. The maps give you different information. I have another map in here, if you're trying to figure what are the blue and what are the green areas of Taiwan after each election, you got to know color code, just like in America, red and blue, after the elections. Okay. Okay, this is an important map. Why is Taiwan a desired part by China? This is what I call the blue water map. This map shows ocean depth. You see the Taiwan Strait here, very shallow, probably not 100 meters deep or so. For China's submarines to reach blue water, the deep Pacific is called blue water, and we talk about a blue water navy and that. For China to submarines and ships to get into blue water, they have to either go through the Bashi Channel between Taiwan and the Philippines, pretty narrow, or up here across the top between Taiwan and Japan. But if China owns Taiwan, then they can set a submarine base right here that has immediate access to blue water. To me, that's the real reason why China wants Taiwan. It's a military positioning, for strength in the Pacific. And also, of course, if it can control Taiwan, then Japan and Korea are cut off from the rest of Southeast Asia. Can almost set up a toll road here for all shipping going through, unless you want to circle way around. Okay. What else do maps tell you? This one is electricity usage. This is actually a satellite photo taken at night, and you can see the western coast of Taiwan. That's where most of the people are. The mountain range here, pretty dark in there. Few places is Taidong here, on the east coast. They gives you where is electricity consumption? The west coast, not LA. We're talking the west coast of Taiwan. So just a interesting night satellite photo. Okay, so questions to ask yourself when you think about the discourse of Taiwan. You know, how does democracy influence American identity? Because Taiwan, from 1992 legislative young, 1996 presidential, as a democratic election of these people. So, Joe likes to say Taiwan is the first Chinese democracy. I say Taiwan is the first Taiwanese democracy. Yeah. Does democracy influence American identity? Of course. Is America's democracy called the first British democracy or an American democracy? What makes Americans Americans and not British? You figure America was a colony of Britain for over 150 years. Why do we juxtapose American English or British English? Actually, if you go for a job in Taiwan, they will often say, we want someone who speaks American English, not British English. What's the difference between the two? It's English, right? They could almost say, well, what's the difference between Taiwanese Mandarin and Chinese Mandarin? Ask the same questions about Taiwan and its democracy. You know, get yourself thinking on what is the... Okay, so let the lions tell their story. You are the lion.